Hey, what's up guys? This is Danny, back with another video. So I just wanted to show you guys a little bit about what we have going on in the garage right now. So we have a few projects. This is kind of one of our newest projects. We just picked this up. It's a 2009 RMZ250 4-stroke Suzuki. So yeah, this thing it looks pretty beat up, but the thing is we already took it apart. It's a pretty clean bike. The plastics, you can see the old plastics over here. It's been sitting for a while. The carb, we have it apart on that little table. It's all gunked up. So we bought this, and the guy told us that it wasn't running. These are just some of the old parts. Some of them are gonna go back, but we have over here some new parts. Plastics, grips, kill switch is broken, and just a few other goodies. And so we bought this bike. The guy told us that when he would shift it, it wouldn't go to any gears. So he told us that his buddy was pushing it, and then he was pushing it while it was in gear, and something happened and the bike wouldn't shift anymore. So we kind of bought it assuming that, you know, either the transmission is blown, the gears, the shaft is blown. So we bought it, we brought it home. We got it for a pretty good deal. We took it apart. I took off the clutch cover, took off this whole part of the engine pretty much, the clutch side, took off the clutch basket. And over here, as you can see on this side, is the shifter. Right off of that shifter comes a shaft, and it comes kind of down here. And that shaft is pretty much what shifts the transmission into different gears. And the two bolts, the shifter, gear selector, whatever it's called, the two bolts that hold that down to get stuff into gear, I realized when I opened it up were loose. So all I did was threw some Loctite on, tightened them up. We didn't get the chance to start the bike yet, but we kind of pushed it through the gears and it runs perfectly through every gear. Clutch works, everything works. So that was pretty nice. We didn't have to take the whole engine apart and do a transmission rebuild. And so now I'm just gonna start putting it back together. Like I said, we got some new parts right down here. We got some old parts. I'm gonna clean it up, make it look super good, and yeah, we'll go from there. I'm gonna start off by putting all the fluids in. We gotta put some oil and some coolant in because we dropped that. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, so first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and just put in the oil. I just have some Valvoline ATV UTV 4-stroke 10W40 motor oil. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this in. So this bike calls for a full quart of oil. And so I'm just gonna open this up and put it in right now. So a little trick in how to get oil faster in any engine. Usually I use a funnel to try to not spill everywhere. What people normally do is they just throw the funnel in there, and then they see that the oil is going through the funnel super slow. You always want to lift the funnel up a little bit, and then the oil will flow a lot more freely. Just make life a lot easier, so you don't have to sit there with a quart of oil in your hand, or if you hold a 5-liter or 5-quart jug, kind of can get annoying. I always just like to let the bottle kind of drain out pretty good. And then next we'll throw some coolant in, because like I said, we drained all the fluids out of this, out of the engine. Alright, now that we got the oil full, the coolant full, I'm going to go ahead and just throw on the caps. Put on this cap, coolant tank. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the fluids. So yeah, next we're probably going to go ahead and install that exhaust. And we'll go over everything this bike has once it's all cleaned up, washed up. You know, we'll go ahead and do a review video of it. And so we have the FMF. We're probably going to throw on the rear section of that frame, the subframe. We're gonna throw that on, the fuel tank, pretty much everything. And then last but not least, we'll get over here to this carb, clean it up, and then we'll get it slapped on and see how this baby runs. So let's go ahead and get the rest of the bike together right now. So over here we got the FMF header. You can see it's an FMF pipe, an FMF header. I almost forgot this exhaust gasket. So this goes on right in between the head and the exhaust. So I'm gonna throw that on. Let's go. Alright, so right now I'm just going to kind of pretty much give you guys a basic overview of how we go about cleaning the carb. So pretty basic. I'm sure most of you guys know how a carb works. If you guys don't, there's a bunch of other videos on that, but I'll kind of basically explain. So we take off the bottom end of the carb, or where the float sits, the bottom cap, whatever you call it. We take that off. It has 4 bolts. After that, in here you have your main jet, which we already took off, which would go right here in the middle. You got your main jet, and then you got your idle jet, and we'll pretty much just take those off and look at them and kind of see, you know, the condition of them. If we need to order new ones, we'll order new ones. If they're clean, and I mean if they're just a little gunked up, we'll just clean them up, throw them back in. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take a look at everything and see how it looks. Hey, what's up guys? So today's another day, it's the next day. So I kind of just took my time. I didn't really film much because there was a lot of tedious work with the carburetor. I went ahead and cleaned it really well, and some of the jets were clogged. I had some new jets, threw in some new jets in there. The power valve was stuck too, and it wouldn't get anything through it. So I just cleaned it all up, took my time. And now we're at this stage. I pretty much put the bike back together other than the plastics and everything. I put the oil in, coolant in, exhaust on, everything, intake. And then I wanted to go ahead and just start the bike. So I threw the fuel tank on. And when I was kicking it, I realized, right now the spark plug is out. I realized that the compression felt really weak. Like I could just go by hand and it didn't feel too strong. So I went ahead and grabbed my compression testing tool. I did a compression test and the compression showed about 40 psi. So yeah, that clearly means that something is going on. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and take off the valve cover, and I'm gonna just check the valve clearances. That's pretty much the first thing you want to do when you have low compression. Just check the valves. I mean, you know, it could be the rings, it could be other stuff, but the easiest thing that it can be is the valves. And so I would just need to readjust the valves, re-shim them. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take off this valve cover, and then we'll see what we got. All right guys, so I just finished up with the doing the compression test and checking the valves. I shimmed it correctly. One of the valves, one of the intake valves was actually shimmed too tight, so I had to put in a smaller shim. So I did that, did another compression test, and now the bike seems good. It ran, I rode it up and down the street, and it ran actually very good, so I'm very happy. So right now we're gonna go ahead and start on the cosmetics. We got it running good, put oil, coolant, everything. She's ready. Now we're just gonna go ahead and do all the cosmetics. So it has Pro Taper handlebars, but they were all scuffed up. So I went ahead and just threw on some primer, masked it off. The headpiece is nice, it's a Pro Taper, so I didn't want to paint that. So just masked it off, go ahead and primered it. And then now I'm just gonna throw on a few coats of black paint, and then it should be good. And then some clear coat, and it should last pretty well. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. Alright guys, just finished painting the bars. Threw on some primer, then 2 coats of paint and a coat of clear coat. They turned out nice, still look good, I believe. Alright, I'm gonna let it dry till morning, and then we'll resume. Hopefully tomorrow we can finish this thing up. So I'll catch you guys in a bit.